Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Chartreuse Leprechaun. My name is Mark, your host, and it's time for that monthly, well, more or less monthly update video. Got a couple of announcements this month, some schedule changes coming up, a few things I'd like your thoughts on. So, as always, I'll have the timestamps in the description. I'm checking the monitor to make sure I'm pointing correctly. I'll have the timestamps in the description below so you can watch straight through. You can skip around. It'll be totally up to you, but I do ask that you check it all out and leave me your comment. Now, we're going to change things up a little this month and start off with health news. And the reason for that is quite literally the day after I published last month's update video, the letter arrived from Social Security approving disability. And as I've said more or less in the past, that news was at the same time it was a relief and it was a gut punch. On the one hand, it's a relief to have that settled, and on the other hand, it finalized any hope I had of returning to a regular job, which I still kind of want to do. And I've said a few times over the last 2.5 years that I don't want to do nothing. Oh, sure, everyone needs some downtime to do nothing, decompress. I get all of that. But like most people, I can't stand doing nothing for very long. I want to do something productive, and for now, it looks like YouTube and the learning curve that goes with it is it. Let's get back to where we started this segment. We're changing the update videos. Short version, unless there's something special to report, so security changes, medical changes, etc., health news is no longer going to be part of the update videos. On the bright side, that leaves more time for other things, like tech education, the part of the video where I talk about what we've learned on the technical side during the last month. Now, you remember those lavalier microphones we got? You know, the cheap ones? If you recall, I bought those for a side project. The plan for those is to record people's experiences with God and then publish them. The lavaliers are on-the-go microphones meant to be used with a mobile device. Well, those on-the-go devices, they connect via USB-C. And my motherboard has a USB-C connection, so out of curiosity, I plugged the base receiver for these into the motherboard. And it worked. So the sound issues we've had on all our personal videos, you know, different audio levels and quality everywhere we decided to record, well, that's all solved now. No more moving our Elgato Wave 3 all over the studio, which means no more having to rebalance the sound every time we move the camera. And hoping you get it right. All that's left is the lighting issues. Only took us a year to solve all the, you mean most, sound issues. That said, we're still successfully using that Elgato Wave 3 condenser microphone for game videos. And as much as I want to get away from condenser microphones and move to dynamic or directional ones, I still haven't found one I'm happy with. In the $100 price range, everything is either so muddy or requires extra gear, and we don't have the budget for that. So we're going to be sticking with this Elgato. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a good microphone. Natural sound quality, great sound profile, easy to adjust. Probably one of the best investments I've made since starting on YouTube in 2020. But it also picks up all the extra noise around me. But we'll get there. The news is even good when it comes to using cameras, but it almost wasn't. Last month's video was a test to see if we needed to change from our Logitech C930E webcam for studio recording. And we compared it with my Samsung S22 Plus cell phone. And if you saw last month's video, the comparison was laughable. Oh, so laughable. So we decided we were going to use the cell phone to do all our studio recording. But that video was shot with the phone on my desk, not able to use OBS because the lavaliers plugged directly into the phone. Well, I mentioned earlier we fixed the sound issue by figuring out that we could plug into the USB input on the motherboard. Great news, right? Wait for it. Wait for it. Well, there were other issues. Thank you, Mr. Leprechaun. We couldn't get the phone to connect to OBS via the USB connection. And the wireless lag to OBS, like 10 seconds. And if we turned the phone's Wi-Fi off, OBS picked up the lavaliers, but not the USB-connected phone. You know, there was a saying back in the 1990s that went, To err is human, but to really screw it up, get a computer. I'm not sure things have changed much since then. The good news is the devs for Droid Can OBS, which is the app we're using, by the way, they figured it out. And as you can see, we are good to go now. The problem now is we can't use our teleprompter because we used the phone for that. So we need a tablet or something. But we'll figure it out eventually. But like I said, the next challenge is lighting. Oh, that's going to be fun. In more good news, we did some more system updates. We installed an M.2 drive for our operating system after a few attempts. No, do not ask how many. Just please, just don't ask. We got it working properly. And that let us move our games from a physical hard drive to an SSD, and our recording and editing from an actual hard drive to a different SSD, allowing us to get rid of one hard drive. And that brings us to programming news. And the first thing to talk about is uploads for the holidays. Every year so far, we have made schedule changes for the Christmas holidays. We've had to either skip or push uploads because Christmas and New Year's fell on publication days. Well, this year, we aren't. Christmas and New Year's fall on Sunday. We don't upload anything on Sundays, so we don't have to skip anything. That said, we do believe the holidays are meant for family and friends, so be sure to get away from the internet as much as possible. You can wait to watch videos. Sacrilege! Sacrilege! How darest thou go against the mighty YouTube algorithm requirements? How darest thou violate the sacred rules of social media? The internet and social media will survive without you for a day or two. Spend time with real people. Build real relationships. COVID stole enough of that. Don't let social media steal the rest. Now, in programming news, there is this little side note to health news, and that involves leprechaun stories. I said in August, it might have been July, that I was going to try and do more leprechaun stories. So we spent August and September doing 2 leprechaun stories a week. And it was tough on my brain. In case you missed it, I'm a stroke survivor who suffers from a rare form of migraines. And I discussed those in some prior videos. I'll link those in the description below. Anyway, the longer it went on, the tougher it got. I know I didn't say it in our monthly videos, but I should have. Well, when we started the series for this war of mine, I realized leprechaun stories didn't fit that series at all. So we spent October doing 1 leprechaun story a week. And my brain did much better. The headaches, the brain fog, all of it eased off. And with the return of Planet Crafter, we spent November doing 2 leprechaun stories a week, and things went badly quickly. I started getting headaches, the brain fog started up again, other neurologic symptoms started creeping in. It pretty much confirmed what I feared. The extra work was just too much for the brain. So, as much as it pains me to do it, we will only be doing 1 leprechaun story a week going forward, and that leprechaun stories will always be for whatever the Friday series is. Now, as I've said before, if and or when I can get an editor, that changes. I want to do a leprechaun story for every game episode, but in the meantime, I have to manage my brain capacity. Strokes suck. Actually, every kind of brain injury sucks, and they affect you in small ways that you don't realize and may not even see. But you must, absolutely must, manage your brain activity. A great resource for that, and it gives a great explanation, is something called spoon theory. Now, it was written in regard to chronic illness. The author suffered from lupus, but it applies to brain injuries as well. It's not a perfect explanation. It's got problems with it, but it's a good explanation. I'll link to the original article down below. Please check that out. I say all that to say, do yourself a favor. Yes, you. You. Yeah, and you, and, well, all y'all. Do yourselves a favor. It does not matter if you've suffered some sort of brain injury or not. Learn to manage your brain activity well. You only get one of them. You can't ever have a second one. Well, that was quite the rabbit trail. Okay, getting back on track, the Discord live stream experiment has been a lot of fun. For those who don't know, we've been streaming No Man's Sky over on Discord for a month and a half, Might even be getting close to 2 months now. Huh. Every Wednesday, 2000 hours Central Time U.S. But I'll be honest, things aren't going right. We're still trying to work through some technical issues. Reposting it all on YouTube has gone a lot better. Lots of views, lots of engagement. So I'm thinking of changing this arrangement. I'm thinking we can just live stream it on YouTube or maybe Twitch. I am set up there. I just never use it. Let me know what you all think. Share your thoughts in the comments, please and thank you. And I'll be adding a poll on the community tab on YouTube, so y'all can chime in there as well. And now for something pretty cool. Back when we moved into this room in August, I showed y'all this flag and this bulletin board of letters. And I said the story for them was really cool, and I also said I would explain it at some point. Well, you guessed it. That time is now. There's an organization out there called Any Soldier, and it started because a deployed soldier found out guys in his unit were not getting any mail, and he agreed to share anything that came to him addressed as "Attention Any Soldier." Side note, per Department of Defense rules, anything you send to soldiers must be addressed to an individual. You cannot send it addressed to a unit, to a group, or anonymously. So to get around that, he had it all sent to his name, "Attention Any Soldier." Now that was in 2003. And in 2004, that idea went Army-wide thanks to his parents forming this charity. Later that year, it went service-wide. The only requirement to sign up was you had to be getting combat pay, deployed in a combat zone. And that was when I found out about them. I was on long-term disability for a back injury when somebody emailed me about this. And I still remember the first post I ever read. It was from a guy patrolling the streets of Baghdad, and he said, "We don't really need anything, maybe some razors if you want to send us something, but we see kids on the street who have nothing. Can you please send us stuff to give these kids?" And I'll be honest, I cried. My kids saw me crying and they asked what was wrong, so I read them the post. And they ran off, and I cried all over again, thinking they didn't understand. And a few minutes later, they came back with double handfuls of Matchbox cars, Beanie Babies, and so forth, saying, "Daddy, can we send these?" I cried all over again. Bawled, actually. God, I was so proud. And yes, I have a bunch of cool stories of things my kids did, but it would take a really long time to tell all of them. So we were sending boxes to 3 to 5 addresses every month from then until I suffered that stroke in 2010. It was all stuff they asked for, and sometimes we surprised them with stuff, and this stuff on the walls is what I got back. And like I said, I have some great stories. We have thank you letters from a helicopter unit that was asking for stuff to fly into the mountains of Afghanistan so people wouldn't freeze. I've got letters from a soldier that was stationed in Bosnia who just wanted stuff for an orphanage down the road from him. But the flag, the certificate, but most of all the letter are my biggest treasures. And by the way, this story doesn't actually involve Any Soldier. It just came about because of my experience with them. I was in online college studying finance, and in the fall of 2008, I found out someone in one of my classes was actually deployed. I told her what my family did, and I asked if they wanted anything. And she said sure, but all they wanted was candy. I mean, it was coming up on Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, so I said, no problem, we can handle that. We only sent boxes for the last few months of 2008. Every one was a large flat rate box stuffed full of candy. Well, I also included hot chocolate, coffee, sugar, creamer because, well, you can probably guess that part. The last box got mailed in November 2008 because of when their deployment ended, and I didn't hear anything back from her. And by the way, I wasn't actually surprised by that. Most of the boxes we sent never got a reply, other than maybe an updated post on the Any Soldier website. And then in February 2009, a box showed up in the mail, and in the box was the flag, the certificate, that said it had been flown on an actual mission. Now, I hadn't asked for that or anything, so getting it was pretty cool, but it wasn't the best part. It also had that letter thanking me for keeping my word. Now, I need to give a little background here. I've made no secret of the fact that I am a Christian, and I came to Christ in 1987 at the age of 27. And that's actually an anomaly. It's very unusual for someone to come to faith after age, say, 18 to 20. And I also changed radically in some ways. What she did not know is that pre-Christ, you couldn't trust me. Not to tell you the truth, not to keep my promise. I might, but I probably wouldn't. And I wouldn't care. So what she said meant the absolute world to me. And I cried. The truth is, I needed that reminder of who I used to be, who I was, and who Christ had changed me into. And to this day, that letter still tears me up a little bit. And that's why these things are on my wall, to remind me of where I was, who I was, and what God has done in me. It's a valuable part of my testimony. It's part of why I know God is real, and that He sent His Son, Jesus Christ, to pay the penalty of sin for all who will believe. All who will place their absolute trust in Him receive His forgiveness. Now, I know Christmas is all about the marketing, getting you to buy stuff, give stuff, and all of that. And I know there are a lot of pagan beliefs that got wrapped up in the celebration as well. But Christmas is supposed to be about celebrating the one who was born of a virgin, lived a sinless life, and died an excruciating death so the curse of sin could be broken, so that all who willed can come to the living God. None of the secularism, none of the paganism, none of that changes the reality of Jesus Christ. None of that changes what He has done. None of that changes how much He loves you. None of that changes that repentance of sin is required to receive His gift. But most of all, none of that changes the hope that you can have by faith in Him. And I say all that as one who has not been healed of stroke-induced damage. I say that as one who struggles with huge financial difficulties every month because of reduced and fixed income. I say all that as one who has a lot of family strife and discord. I say all that as one who struggles with maintaining relationships and friendships. I say all that because my faith is not based on what He does or doesn't do. It's based on who He is, and I tell you, God is good, always, even when it doesn't look like it. This Christmas, draw near to the one who knows you, the one who accepts you the way you are, but refuses to let you remain that way. Draw near to the one who redeemed you from every curse that has held you down all your life. This Christmas, surrender yourself to the living God by giving yourself to the Savior of the world, Jesus Christ. Well, thank you for spending your time with us here today at the Chartreuse Leprechaun. As always, it is greatly appreciated. Leave us any suggestions you have on how to get better. We really do want to get better, and we'd like your feedback to help us do it. Hit that like button, subscribe, set yourself up for notifications, all that fun stuff so you don't miss anything around here, and, to keep the YouTube algorithm happy with us. Please help keep the YouTube algorithm happy with us. And finally, I give you my usual warning to everyone. The leprechaun is out there, and he's out there to mess it up for you, for me, for everyone, everywhere, all the time. So keep your eyes open. You have been warned. So keep your eyes open. You've been warned. And remember, always, always, always remember that if you see it and you can't quite explain it, you can be positive the leprechaun did it. Now you have yourselves a great day, a great week, and we will see you here next time on the Chartreuse Leprechaun. Bye-bye.